I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'd like to introduce Paul Gupta from Premier Federal, who will be leading the presentation tonight, and everybody at Alteryx who joined as well. Thank you all for presenting this for our students and staff. We really appreciate the collaboration. And take it away, Paul.
Sorry. Thank you, Dawn. My name is Paul Gupta, and I'm the president of Premier Federal. First of all, thanks to Dawn and the entire staff of the Kennesaw State University for giving us this platform to give you this virtual workshop where it's an opportunity for an industry like us, small business like Premier Federal, a globally powerful and tool called Alteryx, along with the academics, which is Kennesaw State University. So thank you again, and I would like to get started here. So just to give you an idea, Premier Federal is an Atlanta-based an SBA 8A technology small business. When we say SBA 8A, it's a terminology under the Small Business Administration guidelines for small businesses which need some help in growing their business within the government contracting domain. So that's the 8A designation, and that's who we are. And we specialize in cybersecurity, cloud, and emerging technology areas, specifically in the AI, machine learning, NLP, or natural language processing, and next generation data analytics and data visualization areas specifically. The other areas that we are also getting into are called augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and 3D solutions. So you will see maybe at some point us talking about that, but today's presentation is about the next gen data analytics, data visualization, AI, machine learning, and NLP. We have some business partnership with some globally known organizations, for example, Alteryx, Cisco, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Visitech USA. Visitech USA is the one that specializes in the augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality and 3D solutions. All right, so our current focus in the customer base is government, and we have some very good contracts going on with CDC right here in Atlanta. We are selected by the US Navy to do business with them. We are getting with the Army and pursuing other federal and state agencies in these areas. Besides, we also are looking at providing some funding opportunities through grants, the Small Business Innovation Research, and SBIR and STTR research and development funding. All right, so that will be something that will be of interest to the academics folks, and we will talk about it later. So the objectives of today's workshop are really to establish a technical alliance between an academics like Kennesaw State University, a globally known data analytics tool from a company called Alteryx, and a small business like Premier Federal. So a technical alliance between these three entities. As a collaborative alliance, our objective is to provide to the students a no-cost platform for training and certification of the Alteryx platform. Obviously, it is self-paced, but a no-cost platform for Alteryx training and certification in the areas of Alteryx Designer. They have 3 versions: professional, advanced, and expert level. So once the student is trained and certified, then Premier Federal will provide them an potential for an opportunity for a paid part or full-time projects. This is really something we are looking forward to. We have potential projects, contracts in the pipeline, and we are looking for certified Alteryx folks. With that, I would like to hand it over to Tori Adamo. She's the director of Alteryx For Good program at Alteryx. Tori?
Thank you, Paul. Hi, everybody. Like Paul said, I'm Tori. I've been working at Alteryx for almost 5 years now, and I've been running the Alteryx For Good program. And I'm thankful to be here today to kind of help share what Alteryx For Good is and what this can do for you and how this can help you out. So Paul, can you click to the next slide, please? All right. So I don't know if you are familiar with Alteryx For Good or familiar with Alteryx, but we have a philanthropy arm under Alteryx, and it's Alteryx For Good. And so what it is we give free licenses to students, educators, and to nonprofits. And the purpose is to just kind of help give you the skills and the resources that you need to help develop and to help your career and make that impact. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with you and to help share like where you can go to get this free resource for yourself and for your career and for your academic journey. So who qualifies? So we give this to nonprofits. So if you're working with a nonprofit or if you know a nonprofit, please help share the word that we give free licenses to registered nonprofits with income less than 10 million or less. And then students, if you're currently enrolled in a university, you're eligible for a free designer license. And this also applies to your educators. So you can tell your professors that they're also eligible to receive a free designer license. And we renew in 1-year increments. And so the other cool thing about this program is, I don't know if you guys are familiar, are experiencing friends or family or loved ones that have been impacted by COVID through unemployment status, but we also currently are running a free designer program for those who are affected by COVID. So if they would like to apply to our ADAPT program, they are also eligible for a free 6-month license for designer. So what does this mean for you? Right? So you can learn Alteryx, you can develop your skills, you can help drive social change by helping nonprofits, and you can also use it in the classroom. So you can use it for projects, you could use it to learn, you can tell your educators about it, you can tell your friends about it. If you're in a club, you can tell your club members about it. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved and to tap into this free resource. So, and then for the educators, we're starting to see a lot of educators incorporated into their classroom. So they learn from other educators, they built in fun workflows, like real life work challenges, all through the Alteryx For Good program. So next slide, please. Oh, Paul, did I just skip over the who qualifies? Sorry. Can you go to slide 4, please?
Yes.
All right. So slide 4. So how do we do this? So we love to get people involved. We believe in the village, right? The people who can be that ambassador to help spread the word, evangelize the AFG platform. They help us make connections. So ambassadors really make their work matter even more, and they're helping, like a lot of our customers, like Paul, work very closely with Alteryx, and they use it, and they want to know who else uses Alteryx, and they want to hire people who use Alteryx. So Paul introduced us to you, right? So he's an ambassador, right? So there's a lot of connections through Alteryx for job networking and internships and so forth. So highly recommend tapping into that network. Join a user group, meet with other customers who are using Alteryx, and go for that. But it looks like Paul is looking to hire some of you, so you probably want to touch base with Paul on that and learn Alteryx. So the nonprofits, they're really empowered by analytics for their communities, right? We want to really infuse creating a culture of analytics so that they can use analytics to further their mission. And then for you as students, you get skilled up, you get your free license, you get kickstart your career. And then we weave the educators into the curriculum in a meaningful way. So the overall goal is just to really empower you so that you can be skilled and give back where you care. So a lot of students, for example, in our APAC world, they use Alteryx for social good, and a lot of students in the US use it to solve business challenges. So there's quite a variety of usage. And Marie, who's going to be up next after me, is going to show you a little bit more about that. So Paul, next slide, please. All right, so where do you go to get this great resource, and where do you go to get access to the license? So first, recommend, going to our Alteryx community, Alteryx.com, you can find the community button, and you can find Alteryx for Good there. And so what you'll see are a bunch of resources, you'll see discussions, and you'll hear from others what their impact stories are, and also students, and how they're using it in the classroom. So another, great place for you is to go here to exchange ideas and collaborate, and you'll see the dynamic of the impact that it's making and how it's solving for business and academics and for social good. So next slide, please. So here's a couple of fun stats for you. This is, we've reached over 400 nonprofits that are in the organization in 23 different countries. We also have a program for our internal employees too. So we give them volunteering time off hours. So last year we had 3,400 hours of people giving back and volunteering their time through our program. But in 2019, we had 22,000 students and educators in 64 different countries. So you can really get the volume and the scope that you can really use this anywhere. Next slide, Paul, please. My final slide. So where do you go? So go to Alteryx.com for good. You can find under the designer, or you can find under the education tab, you can select the education and you fill out your credentials and your information, and you'll be able to receive a license probably within 20 to 30 minutes. You can literally do that tonight and get started. And then the Alteryx AFG community is the Alteryx.com/community. And you can find IFG on the left-hand tab at the bottom, and you can find AFG there. So I'm here to answer any questions, but highly encourage and welcome you to be part of our Alteryx for Good community. We're here to help students and educators and give you free resources. So good luck, and Marie, it's up to you now. Thank you.
Thanks, Tori, appreciate it. Marie Breton, sales engineer with the public sector group in Alteryx. I am describe myself as a jack of all trades, master of none, with a real big passion for data analytics. So basically I was a student once and had to learn all kinds of things with data analytics, with data processing, with programming, with all of those different parts. So I can feel myself in your shoes as you're trying this journey of learning data analytics, and hopefully I can show you tonight Alteryx and basically how to help yourself answer some of these questions and participate in the data science projects. So what you have here is, if you were going to see a sales presentation with one of our associates, you would see this type of slide that they show you. Basically, the Alteryx platform is here to show you that on this slide, we take in any different type of data sets that you have available to you. They could be from different locations, different applications, different structured and unstructured data. And in the middle of this is what we do as data scientists, as data engineers, to understand the data, to build something that our customers are asking for us. So basically, the first part is understanding and profiling the data that we have available to us, and then blending that data with all of the different sources and able to do this analytics. Some of the stuff is descriptive analytics. Some of it is how many of what, and what's going to happen more prescriptively, or predicting a certain amount of content that we need to develop and insights that we need to share. And then on the right-hand side, we develop some type of results to share with people. And this could be in a form of an application. It could be published to a Tableau or a Click dashboard for other people to do some visual analytics on, or it could be just a report that we send in a PDF file to someone to tell them the results of the analytics that we've just performed. So what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and share my screen and introduce you to Alteryx. So Paul, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you now. Okay, so what you should be seeing over here now is the Alteryx Designer. So Alteryx Designer is a desktop platform where we go ahead and install onto our computers Alteryx Designer. When we launch it, you see basically what you have available here is what we call the workflow area. So this is basically the canvas. What we have over here is we have various different building blocks. So data investigation tools, if we wanted to go ahead and do some exploratory data analysis. We have our predictive type of linear logistic regression, some text mining, some input output. So within all of these within all of these tools that we see, there's over 260 of these building blocks for us to go ahead and build up what we need to do. So basically what you'll notice over here, is a very easy to use drag and drop configuration. So basically what you'll notice over here is I'm taking and I'm bringing in our input. So I can go ahead and browse into a data structure, into some area to pick up some data that I want to do some exploratory data analysis. So through this, I basically drag onto the canvas and I basically configure up what I want to be able to see that information as it goes through. So basically that's what I'm doing is I'm just dragging and dropping and building up the analytics in the transformations that I need to do. So typically what you'll notice over here is when I go ahead and do one of my demos, I typically try to do it in a data methodology framework. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be able to build this whole thing out for you, but I want you to understand a little bit about a methodology that I use. So this is called CRISP-DM. You might have heard of it in some of your classes already, or a little bit more as you're learning data science and data engineering. But basically it is about understanding the business question or the business problem that you're trying to solve. And then going it through and doing some exploratory data analysis and preparing that data, going into the part of the data modeling. How do we determine which variables are most important to us in answering the questions? And then the evaluation of that. Notice that these are kind of two-way streets. As we find out more data, we ask more questions, and we need to go back sometimes to get more data, to come to do the modeling, to do the evaluation. And if the evaluation did find something of importance, do we go ahead and do a deployment, or do we go back to the business understanding? So you can see this is a very iterative process. And then at the very end, we have this deployment. So the deployment in this particular case is a question that's going to show a map and some information around a specific geo point on a map for an end user. So those is what I'm going to take you through now. So let me go ahead and change my screen over. Okay. And the demo I've prepared for you this evening is something to do with predictive maintenance. So if you're used to hearing about sensor data, if you're used to hearing about mean time to failure, or various different parts of, systems or engineering that people are doing. So this one is called predictive maintenance. It takes you through all of these steps that I showed you in the previous slide, but it's also here to show you basically kind of the possibilities and how we would go about building up this type of workflow. So what you'll notice over here is I have the data ingest methods. So once again, I'm going ahead and I'm taking in a specific data source. In this particular case, it's a parts database. In the data understanding part, what you notice over here is we can quickly go ahead and see the data visually and to see what kind of records we have. we notice that we have 8 fields and 2,000 records. We can click on this information over here to see a more detailed information breakdown about this data. So very easy to visually understand the quality of the data, the numerical statistics, if there's a numeric column, a profile of that specific data. So very easy for us to go ahead and do that data inspection. Now, I could program, but it would take me a long time. But being able to do this type of analytics and be able to, make sense of the data very quickly is something that I really do enjoy about Alteryx. So what you'll notice over here is this is a database. What we also do is we also have the ability to go ahead and download data. So you may be hearing a lot about APIs or about different ways to get data, REST APIs, or download free data through RSS feeds. So here's an example of me taking down a QUIF file, which is a data engineering type of file, and going ahead and doing some advanced parsing and being able to go ahead and select that information into another part of the process. So 3 or 4 icons later, I'm able to ingest the QUIF data, make a quick transformation, and to be able to use that again within some additional steps. One of the things that we also introduced recently is our text mining suite. So this is called our intelligence suite. So a lot of the data that we see is locked up in what we call unstructured documents. So in this particular part of the workflow that you see down here, you can see that I'm taking in the drone manual, and I'm taking in it page by page to go ahead and tease out some of the data that I want. Some of the data I want in this case is very easy to go ahead and split out into columns. So very visual, I can go ahead and select the column name. Through various configuration options, I can go ahead and see what the data looked like before the transformation and then what the data looked like after the transformation. So it's still kind of teasing some information out of this particular data set. I'm doing some additional selection and deselection. And over here are some formulas that I can go ahead and use to go ahead and continue to extract that data. But before, I was told that people would actually have to go ahead and take down this information and look through documents to go ahead and record this information. So in this particular case, what I have is I have a table that shows me the code part, the description, and how many pieces are actually in that particular box. So this could be very useful information in the analysis if I'm going to do an inventory type of question. How far do I need to replace different parts if I have a starting or an ending number, right? And if I have so many broken, how many would I have to do? So I could compare it to this particular, quantity type thing. So interesting that I can go ahead and do all of these different types of data ingest type of areas, but that's just one part of the data project. So in this case, so what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and start doing some more of that data preparation step and being able to go ahead and take that information into a more meaningful area. So something you might hear about occasionally, depending on what kind of field you're in, is something called outlier detection. So typically people are looking for anomalies, or they're trying to understand if there's some observations that are of interest for the data science community. So what I do here is I take a little inventory of these blades on the drone, and basically you can see very easily over here that I have some inspections. I've got some measurements, some weights. Maybe I know what that is, maybe I don't. But the point is that I can go ahead and use Alteryx to go ahead and do some very quick detection of these elements. So what you'll notice over here under our data inspection area is we have what we call a field summary tool. And the field summary tool helps us with the distribution and the the quality of the data and the quantity and how, it's distributed for this particular measurement. So visually, I could see that, I have some measurements. It looks like one over here. I have 3 instances of that particular measurement and another one over here. Okay, it's good to know. I need to know that from a data science perspective. But if I wanted to quickly look at it to see through a plot if there were any outliers in here, I could go ahead and notice that I have a plot to show me the various different points. So the measurements on this particular unit, right? It doesn't look bad to me, but it could be, might not be. Oh, I noticed here in that measurement 4 that could very well look like an outlier. So now I make some informed decisions. I can go back and I can say, hey, Inspector XYZ, I notice you have some measurement problems and you get an observation that's out of range. They might say, oh, it was a problem. Yes, it was a problem. I need to go back and correct it. So taking in the data, taking a look at the data can allow me to very easily see that information, in a matter of a minute or so to configure the input of the data, the configuration of this particular field summary tool over here, right? So I can go ahead and put that in and then come back in. So the other thing is people talk about standard deviation. So standard deviation is another detection method that we could look for observations that were over standard deviation amount. If you kind of recall, the standard deviation curve looks like this on a normal curve. So basically what we're trying to do is we're looking for observations that fall within or out of a certain range. So by going ahead and calculating the standard deviation, which is basically the average over the standard deviation, I can go ahead and configure Alteryx to give me a short list of the units that are specifically over a certain amount of standard deviation. So in this case, it's standard deviation over 3 or under 3. So basically now, if I wanted to go ahead and create a report to show someone how many measurements or which unit, right, I can go ahead and configure this to show them that 24 of the measurements were within the proper deviation, but there was one that was not. So this might be a method that you certainly could, somebody could ask you about a big data set, thousands and thousands or millions of rows to find out which ones fall outside of a certain standard deviation. So you'll notice over here that we have another visual chart of the standard deviate, what they call a DB scan. So basically why I show this is basically Alteryx is a very easy to use graphical user interface. Configuration through drop downs and selecting various radio buttons and checking and unchecking things. But if you come into a world that you're used to programming in R or Python, and you need to develop something and you have some code that you want to bring in, you're certainly able to go ahead and integrate that code within Alteryx by bringing in the notebook directly into Alteryx to process. So this is a great collaboration. So I could be on your project. I could go ahead and work with my Alteryx tools. You could give me a code snippet to have me do some portion of this work. And then we can join forces again to go ahead and share those particular results. So this you'll see over here is a Juniper notebook where we're going ahead and doing a isolation forest and what we call a DB scan. So if I would run that, it would produce the output that you see here on the chart. Okay. So those are the first 2 processes, kind of that, data understanding, the preparation of the data. We could even take this further into this area called kind of the calculations and the various parts. Over here where you see the advanced analytics, we have this summary. Let's try to make that bigger for you. Let me go ahead and click on the other one over here for you. That's bigger. I didn't give you glasses with this, so sorry. Sometimes it can be a little hard to see. So what you're doing here is in this particular part, so now what we're starting to do is we're starting to do the modeling selection, right? We're trying to go ahead and do various things with analytics. Maybe we have to impute factors, right? Maybe we have to go ahead and figure out how we're going to impute missing data. Well, you'll notice under our data preparation area, we have various different parts for imputation. So I had noticed from a previous observation that I needed to go ahead and calculate some missing for sensor 1, sensor 2, and sensor 3. So you notice by clicking that, I can go ahead and select what I want to do with an average, median, or mode. So collecting that information, you can see the before and after transformation here to go ahead and show what you have. And maybe you want to go ahead and do an oversampling. So this is another technique within Alteryx that we're able to do to go ahead and sample data that has been oversampled or undersampled. So these are parts of the data, engineering and modeling part that you will need to do at some point when you're starting to do these analytic problems. So interesting to go ahead and see how powerful this is to go ahead and see things like the distribution very easily, the field summary tool that I showed you initially. So let's go ahead and say that you feel like you have your data set and basically what you've decided to do is you've decided to go ahead and try to predict something. So in this particular case, what we're trying to predict is we're trying to go ahead and predict which machines will fail and what their remaining useful life is. So from us working with predictive analytics, we understand that this is a linear regression type problem. So when you come into bringing in your data set, you go ahead and create your training and testing data set. So we do an 80-20 split over here using the Alteryx sample tool. So basically, notice over here, what we do is we come into our predictive palette and we drag on the linear regression. So what we're trying to do is do the remaining useful life, which is a calculation that they do in predictive maintenance. So you'll see over here that I have all of those different fields. I have the sensor fields, the moving average, and various other ones that I think may or may not be important. I'm not the one to judge at this point. So I can easily check and uncheck those fields. And notice what ends up happening over here is I end up with a report. So if you're used to seeing these type of reports in R or Python, basically what you're doing is you're getting the statistical information about that model. So what you're looking at for these statistically significant sensor data, right? So you're starting to see some patterns. You're starting to see the standard errors and t-values. So we're starting to incorporate this into our terminology. We start learning, is the R-squared value good or bad in these cases, right? We have all of that statistical information right here at our fingertips to see. So now, instead of going ahead and spending a lot of time having to program and trying to figure out, was our code correct? I can now work and learn more about linear regression, about what the model means. What does it mean if it's a R-squared of 0.6264 opposed to the adjusted R-squared? So now I can do some additional learning on that opposed to having to learn more about the programming aspect of it. So basically as you're starting to learn data science and learning more techniques, you might have come across the fact that you can use more different types of algorithms and models than just one. So I may be in a class, we're going to learn a little bit more about linear regression. That's great. And someone's going to say, how about a forest model or a boosted forest model? And you'd be like, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess I could use that. So what I can do is I can use the same Alteryx workflow to go ahead and compare the results of those two, making it very easy for me to go ahead and use a different method and a different algorithm to go ahead and predict the remaining useful life. So those charts look a little bit different. So I'm like thinking about this and I'm going to see what the results look like, but I'm not really sure as I start my data science journey, what it is that I'm kind of looking for. So here I've got some residuals and I have some plots, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what this variable importance plot is. According to this, S4 is the most important sensor, followed by S7 and S9. So, okay, that's good, but I didn't see that in the other report. So what can I do is I can go ahead and do these model summary statistics and then stack those on top of each other to have a meaningful conversation with the team to talk about data science techniques and which one of these were, better than others, if you will. Okay. So by taking that information and making an informed decision, I can then use these scoring and create the prediction. So now what I can do is I can look, feeding the testing data into this particular, what did I choose? The forest model. I can go ahead and quickly calculate the remaining useful life of each one of those components compared to the estimated remaining useful life. So this would be a way to go ahead and give and share some insights with the maintenance team to tell them that there's going to be a certain amount or percentage of failure, how many units would I have to purchase or buy, and see how those things would affect those type of decisions coming down to the long run. So there's all different types of techniques within Alteryx to certainly do this data analytics and this modeling and this model evaluation. We've even introduced something called assisted modeling over here. So basically I can do all of this process that you see here within a matter of a few 5 or 6 different types of questions. So that's another great learning tool in order to learn more about data science techniques and how the various different components work and stack up. We even have things, like a leaderboard that help you with determining which model is better than another. So there are certain aspects of the Alteryx process that, guide people to using the predictive sets over here, opposed to these machine learning. So as you're starting that journey and kind of figuring out a little bit more of what the difference is between those two, certainly a lot of resources available for you to be able to do that and learn the different techniques of when to use different ones and so forth. What I'm going to do there is I'm going to go ahead and talk then now about the deployment. So let's say that we've been working on a specific project, we're happy with our results, and now we want to go ahead and create something that other people can use. So we, as the data engineers, the data scientists, are behind the scenes. We are working to create all of the data, to go ahead and do the modeling, select which model it is, and then trying to go ahead and deploy out into the real world the various different parts. So what I want to do next is I want to show you what I call an analytics app, and the analytics app you will see is over here coming up on my screen. And basically, this is a place where I could go. I could instruct users to go ahead and click on this run button. I could embed this into another type of application, or I could go ahead and run this automatically. That would give somebody a report through email or another type of dashboard. So let's go ahead and sort of read the description here. Basically what it's doing is it's going to go ahead and show me the results of some healthcare facilities next to where I am. So what I'm going to do is I click on this and I notice over here that I'm being presented with a map. So there's built-in geospatial elements within Alteryx that we didn't cover in this particular workflow, but this is another example of being able to take data analytics and combine it with other data and then be able to show the type of results. So it's asking me to go ahead and either do one of two things. I can enter an address, or I could enter a point on the map. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and show you a point. I have the user click on a point, and I'm going to say new point, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to hit run. So basically what's happening now is that Alteryx workflow that was built for this particular occasion is actually running. and it's going ahead and doing all of the instructions that we have in the background to go ahead and produce the result. And what I notice over here is it is a result showing the various different healthcare facilities next to the point that I chose. And if I would chose a place next to hospitals or dialysis centers, you would see a different result with the little different stars on it in various different areas. So that is something I could go ahead and send to my phone. I could go ahead and send it to a report, but I want to basically rerun that because I want to go ahead and show you the result of that in a little bit of a better map over here. So let me go back and rerun this. And this time, instead of picking a point, I'm just going to do the address. There's so much capability to show within Alteryx that I always find it amazing myself to go ahead and see all the creative things that people do with Alteryx. So here's that same type of application. In this particular case, it's showing the number of long-term care, some hospitals, and some dialysis centers. So that's the information that's there, along with some addresses that it provided. So all of this was done within Alteryx and then rendered out the specific report or web page that you saw here. With that said, what I want to do is take you back to the community, which Tori had talked about over there. So I'm going to come back and go up to the community and then show you where I find resources. So the Alteryx community is huge in learning how to use Alteryx. And basically there's various different ways to learn Alteryx. And one over here is called the Academy. So the Academy is a place where I can go to have very short interactive lessons or a longer prescriptive learning path that helps me learn how to use Alteryx. So you'll notice over here that there's very different challenges. Those are great ways to, challenge yourself, taking different areas and figuring out how you would do it. The fun part is that everybody else will go ahead and share their output with you. So basically you can get an idea of how you could do different things. When I started learning Alteryx, this was very interesting to me because I had a certain way to do it, but I was learning so much from having other people show me how they did the same problem, right? So this is a great learning path. It's called Academy. Weekly challenges. We also have the lessons and the lesson plans and the videos. This is the Alteryx For Good area. So this is what Tori talked about and being able to go ahead and get the resources that are available to you and talk about those impact stories and the ADAPT program. Okay. And the other part that I like to leave people with is, this basically the different user groups, but the use cases. So you may be in finance, you may be in healthcare, you may be in maintenance, you may be in IT department, you may be in all of these different types of areas, one, none, or some, right? And what I love about this is being able to go ahead and click on an area and see how other people are using Alteryx. So basically, if I knew that I was going to start a new job, I was going to be working with Paul's group, and he told me that they were going to work in an educational facility. And he's got a contract there, and I'm going to read through and, kind of, student retention, right? That's important. That's important to a university, right? But let's go ahead and take a look at another one, how people are using student planning, right? So this might be a way to go ahead and figure out, how many facilities that you need. So what I love about the use cases is they really describe what the problem that they're having, what is, the insights that they're trying to gather. They share a little bit about what they're doing underneath the covers, but they also then go ahead and talk about the benefit that they've received. So this looks a little kind of like intimidating right now, but when you start putting your own workflows together and solving your own challenges, it's certainly a huge way for you to learn from others In this particular case here, they have an on-demand webinar that you could go ahead and watch. So I could click on that if that was of more interest to me to figure that out. So it'd be good. So with that said, I know we've saved a few minutes for questions. Happy to continue answering questions or just open it up for Jeff and Paul and Tori also.
Thanks, Marie, for this
Yep.
wonderful demonstration. Really appreciate it. Can you please show one area called certifications for the students?
Yes, I am so sorry. So here's the certification area. So basically, one of the things that we alluded to is that there is a certification process. There's 3 levels: core, advanced, and designer expert. So basically what you have is you have all of the assets that you need to learn how to go ahead and become certified. So there's some a preparation guide under here that you can click on. It downloads a PDF to show you all of the skills that you might want to learn. It gives you a practice test, some advice, and then also interactive lessons that you can go ahead and walk through to gain more experience. So this is the Alteryx Academy, and it's called certification.
And Marie, can you go over, let's say, if a student wants to learn this, join it, and go through the certification, what does he need to do? He or she needs to do initially?
So basically, the way that I became certified, like a lot of my colleagues and a lot of other people, is you basically play with the software, right? You create these working sessions for yourself and answering these different types of challenges and kind of solving problems and going through the different lessons that they have to show you specific skills. So that's an easy way for people to prepare, is to basically use it. It's not something you can just read the textbook and get through. You do need to have the hands-on experience, but there are plenty of places to go to get hands-on experience with real data sets, with those weekly challenges, with the sample files, various different learning expertise.
What I really meant was, if I'm a brand new student, I don't know anything about Alteryx. What do I do? I need to sign up first? I need to.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the
download the software and then
Yeah.
go through the learning process and all that?
Yep. So basically, the slide deck will show you the link to go ahead and download the software. Once you register and download the software, typically what you do is you come through the academy and you see over here these learning paths, and then the learning paths will go ahead and get you going. So here's the getting started one, kind of covering those aspects of the beginning part of how to learn the different areas of Alteryx.
Excellent. Dawn, do you have any questions from the students?
Yes, so we have one question. Which certifications would be necessary if they wanted to try to get an internship for 2021? Just the beginning ones, or would they need the advanced?
Yeah, so Marie, can you go to the certification, please?
Yes, I will.
So to get the internship, what we'll be looking for would be the designer core and the designer advanced. We would not need an expert at this point. Expert will be, once you build some experience, maybe 6 months or whatever after that. But initially, the requirement will be passing the core. And then, soon after that would be the advanced.
And I guess a follow-up question, which isn't posted, but I'm going to ask it because I'm going to preempt it. How would they apply for internships?
Okay, so we as a company, based on the projects that we'll get, we will, work with you, Dawn, or whoever you designate, to post the appropriate job opportunities on your, job portal or job post or whatever, job board. And that's how I think, they will get to know that, hey, there are these openings available for certain levels of alt-risk jobs, whether it is part-time, full-time, how many hours, what's the pay, all that information will be given in the job posting.
Okay, wonderful. So I think that Adriana has put together a poll that we would like to take of the participants really quickly, just to see, what our demographics are in terms of undergrads and grads, PhDs, and who's joined us tonight. So
this is mainly for the students, the guests primarily.
yes, we've also, had an option for faculty and staff, but yeah.
Okay.
So what I have highlighted over here is under that AFG in the resources page. I've highlighted up here at the top right-hand corner where they apply for the education license.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the top right-hand corner.
Okay. I see a question here from Vivian Marsonia, I guess.
Yes. So does it matter if a freshman or a sophomore complete the certification, or students should wait till their final year?
No, there's no prerequisites as such. Whoever can go through and complete the certification will be qualified. Obviously, if a student is in the final year or a graduate student, obviously the skill level will differ a little bit, but depending on the job requirements, I think we will make the appropriate selection. But as far as going through the learning, training, and certification, there are no prerequisites.
Wonderful.
Right, Marie and Tori?
So we also have a question about the certifications. Is it, which ones are free and which ones will they have to pay for?
They're all, well, the core and Tori and Marie, please come in.
Yeah.
I believe the core and the
Advanced are free.
Advanced are free.
Yeah. The expert one is a paid exam.
Right.
But these two are the regular free ones.
Yeah, the one that are required, the core and advanced are free. There's no cost to the student.
Yeah, I also want to mention that it's very common to not pass core certification your first time. So don't stress. You can retake it. No one knows. It's okay.
And these are all open
Paul
books.
won't know. Paul won't know. It's okay.
Yes. But it's not that difficult either. You just have to play with the tool. Just have to know, the basics and have some experience with the tool, and then take the exam. Then I think you'll be just fine. And these are open books. Obviously,
Correct.
these are timed, but open books.
Well, that's really great to know. So I think that, as all of you had suggested, for the students to just go through the weekly lessons and to be able to just put in the time to learn the tool and then try to take the certifications. That's really a great option and really a great resource for the students. And it's a wonderful tool from what I'm seeing. So thank you guys for sharing with us.
And one last thing, Dawn, if any students has any question, please, you can direct them to us at Premier Federal, and we'll be happy to answer them, or if they need further clarification, bring Alteryx folks as well.
Sure. Any of the students that need to contact them, please feel free to send me an email, Dawn Tatum, and we'll be happy to forward the emails and get the answers you need.
I just wanted to go ahead and also announced that over the summer they put together these core certification preps. So I think this is either a 4 or 5 series. So if you look through these are meant to also kind of help you prepare along the way and get your skills up and kind of show you the things that they're looking for. So as part of the core certification prep, those are usually about 45, 50 minutes long. You can go ahead and download the assets, bring them into Alteryx, and, you know, I'm going to say follow along, right? Because you can start, stop, and go back and check and look again.
So that kind of answers the follow-up question that we had.
Correct.
Is
Correct.
there an online resource that will help students prepare? And I think those videos are awesome. So that would be great.
Yeah, and the little prep book too that they give you is like a self-assessment. So as you're working through the different aspects of it, you know, you're kind of checking it off as you go and your comfort level. There's also a little practice exam. I think it's 30 questions that you can take.
I think I can make a suggestion here. Marie, if you can put together a cheat sheet, 1 page for a brand new student who wants to learn, go through the prep and go through the certification for core and advanced. Basically, we can create a prep sheet, cheat sheet, step by step. What do they need to do to go through that? Is that possible?
I'm not going to say it's one sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll reach out to the education one. I think there is a kind of a quick start. I'm not going to call it quick start, but a document with those links in it. So
yeah,
I can show you the different assets available.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll help.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for us, Dawn?
I don't see any additional questions in the chat. We have a couple of minutes. If any students have a question, please feel free to post them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away. But until we hear from the students, I do want to thank you all for the wonderful presentation and for sharing this great tool. This is really wonderful and a great opportunity for students and us as a university as well to be able to use this within our classes, and we'll expand on in a further discussion, I'm sure.
Well, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, Dawn. You know, we are looking forward to the next steps, and let us know, and let's schedule a follow-up meeting with the staff and discuss further. We
will. I do have a follow-up question that was posted. How can I reach out to all of you to inquire or get any help? And there's an email address. So
yeah, there it is. You can reach to Alteryx directly. I would say best for students to reach is through Dawn.
Yes, I'm going to post my email address here. You can forward questions to me, and I'll make sure it gets to the right person.
Exactly.
And we'll follow up. But thank you again so much, and we will have a follow-up discussion. And thank you, students, and all the participants who joined us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.